Well, travel is back, and we've got lots of delays and cancellations with American this morning. The TSA says it is seeing a steady increase in airline passengers this past month. So what can travelers expect for their upcoming plans? Travel journalist Angel Castellanos joining us live from London. Welcome, Angel. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. It's good to be with you.
Of course, yeah, it looks beautiful behind you. Okay, Angel, what are the new entry rules for Americans to get into the UK? I know a lot of people have so many questions, even when they travel within the US. People coming from LA ask me, what are the rules here in San Diego? So going all the way to the UK, what are the travel rules?
The new rules actually just changed at the end of October, and for fully vaccinated travelers, it's pretty straightforward. Fully vaccinated travelers do not have to test before arriving into the UK, but they still need to test when they arrive in the country. So they need to test on day 2 or before, and that needs to be booked before they leave the United States. And the only way to really do that is to fill out the passenger locator form and then book your test, which gives you a QR code. So all of the steps are taken before travelers leave the United States, which makes things a whole lot easier when you arrive. So I actually uploaded all of my documents to an app called Verify, which American Airlines uses and British Airways uses. And then I was verified. I pretty much walked right into the airport. I used an e-gate. American citizens are eligible to use e-gates, so you don't need to go to a passport control person. I breezed right through customs. And then what I did is I actually booked that day 2 test at Paddington Station. So I took the Heathrow Express from the airport to the center of town, took the test there, which took about 10 minutes, and then I was good to go. So it's really booking that day 2 or before test, which is the absolute requirement for vaccinated travelers.
So is it the second day when you arrive into the UK or 2 days before you leave the country to go to the US? Can you clarify that for me?
It's actually kind of confusing because the wording is that the test should be taken on day 2 or before upon arrival. So you have up until day 2 when you arrive in the country to take that test. But I just took it the day I arrived just to get it out of the way because I was already at that train station.
And before you leave, what do you need to do?
You definitely still need to take a COVID test before returning back to the United States. So that rule hasn't necessarily changed. And for the first time, I'm trying one of these new take-home tests. And I know that there's a variety of different take-home tests out there. You might see some at the pharmacy. So what I've done is I've gone to the website of the airline I'm flying on. They have a list of approved, FDA-approved take-home tests. So that's actually what I'm doing before I come home.
Okay, that is interesting. That's good to know. What happens if somebody does test positive and they're headed back into the U.S.?
Well, that would be an unfortunate situation because then you're really not able to fly. You definitely do have to quarantine, and the only way to get back to the United States is to have that negative COVID test.
Gotcha. Okay, so as soon as you test negative. Okay, the home test. Talk about do you have some of their names?
Yeah. Actually, I have one with me
you have
here.
One. Let's see it.
I actually like to bring 2 just in case because I've heard some horror stories that maybe the first one didn't work quite as well. And what you essentially do is you can book them in packs, and then it's a supervised take-home test. So you go online, you have the swab, you do it yourself. Someone's watching you. You submit it into a little card, and then they give you a reading. And it's a pretty straightforward process because you're walked through. And there's a couple of different tests that are approved by the FDA and by the airline. So I would just go by whichever airline you're flying on, whether it's American or British or Air France or something like that, and make sure that it's accepted by that particular airline.
What about while you are in the UK and going to venues, events, walking into restaurants? Are they asking for your vaccination status? How's that working?
You know, it's actually quite a liberal situation here. I really haven't had to show my vaccine card. I have carried it around because in France and in Italy, you definitely do still have to show that vaccine card. But here in the UK, it's really not a requirement to go into major museums. I was at Windsor Castle yesterday, which was an absolutely beautiful day, and they didn't ask for my COVID vaccine card. And masks are certainly encouraged here in the UK, especially on public transportation. transportation, but there is no one policing them. So it's really up to the traveler to use their best judgment.
Yeah, and if people are going to go to Europe in general, just double check with every country because people usually take the trains, right? You go from London to Paris, then you go to different countries. So you suggest people just basically check in with online, right, with the other nations?
Yeah, definitely. Each place has its own set of rules. When I took trains this summer within Italy, masks were absolutely required. When I went from Paris to Amsterdam,
Yeah.
again in the summertime, masks were required. But here in the UK, taking the train to a meeting I had a little bit earlier this morning and to Windsor Castle, they say masks are required, but I'm feeling that it's about 40
Okay.
to 50% mask compliance.
Okay, Angel Castellanos, thank you for joining us. We got to go. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.